question presented involves the use of a hidged weatherproof cover with an attended outlet, specifically focusing on whether this configuration, approved for wet locations when closed, constitutes a violation. Based on the information given, it's not possible to definitively state that the use of a hidged weatherproof cover with an attended outlet is a violation. A deeper dive into specific electrical codes and standards is necessary to ascertain the proper application of this setup. Firstly, it is crucial to define what constitutes an attended outlet. The term usually implies that the outlet is readily accessible and used under supervision, meaning someone is typically present while the electrical device is in operation. This is pertinent because certain codes permit specific types of outlets and installations based on the level of supervision and control. Secondly, the approval of the hidged weatherproof cover for wet locations when closed is a key factor. This indicates that the cover is designed to protect the outlet from moisture ingress when not in use, complying with standards for enclosures and wet environments. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, contains numerous articles that address wiring methods and materials suitable for wet locations. For example, NEC Article 406.9 discusses receptacles in damp or wet locations. To fully assess whether the described scenario is a violation, several factors need to be considered. 1. The specific location of the outlet is critical. Is it in a residential, commercial, or industrial setting? Each environment may have different requirements. 2. The type of equipment being used with the outlet matters. High current devices or equipment with specific grounding requirements might necessitate additional protective measures. 3. Local electrical codes and amendments must be consulted. Jurisdictions often have their own interpretations and modifications of the NEC. 4. The installation must adhere to the manufacturer's instructions for both the outlet and the weatherproof cover. Deviations from these instructions can invalidate the product's safety rating and create a code violation. 5. The integrity of the weatherproof seal is paramount. If the cover is damaged, improperly installed, or not fully closed when the outlet is not in use, it may no longer provide adequate protection against moisture. Now let's consider some specific scenarios in relevant NEC articles. Suppose the outlet is installed outdoors at a residential property for powering holiday lights. In this case, NEC Article 406.9 bone would apply, requiring a weatherproof enclosure when the receptacle is exposed to the weather, even when the attachment plug is removed. The hidged weatherproof cover, when closed, should meet this requirement, assuming it is listed for wet locations. However, if the outlet is intended for use with high-pressure washing equipment, the NEC might require a ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protection, as outlined in Article 210.8. A GFCI detects imbalances in the electrical current and quickly shuts off power to prevent electrical shock. In a commercial setting, such as a restaurant patio with outdoor seating, the requirements might be even more stringent. NEC Article 547.9 could apply if the area is considered an agriculturally adverse environment due to frequent washing or exposure to corrosive substances. This article mandates the use of corrosion-resistant materials and specific wiring methods. Furthermore, the concept of attended versus unattended use plays a role in determining the appropriate level of protection. If the outlet is always under the supervision of trained personnel who can ensure that the weatherproof cover is properly closed and that the equipment being used is in good condition, the risk of electrical hazards is reduced. However, if the outlet is accessible to the general public without supervision, a high degree of protection is necessary. It's also important to address the potential for misuse or abuse of the outlet. For instance, if the weatherproof cover is frequently left open or if the outlet is used with damaged or incompatible equipment, the risk of electrical shock or fire increases significantly. In such cases, additional measures such as tamper-resistant receptacles, as described in NEC Article 406.12, might be required. These receptacles have shutters that prevent the insertion of foreign objects, reducing the risk of electrical shock to children and others. Let's delve deeper into the technical aspects of weatherproof enclosures. These enclosures are typically rated according to their ability to protect against various environmental conditions, such as rain, snow, ice, and dust. The National Electrical Manufacturers Association, or NEMA, provides a classification system for enclosures, with ratings ranging from NEMA 1, which provides basic protection against contact with live parts, to NEMA 6P, which provides protection against prolonged submersion in water. A weatherproof enclosure for outdoor use in a wet location would typically have a NEMA 3R or NEMA 4 rating. A NEMA 3R enclosure protects against rain, sleet, and snow, while a NEMA 4 enclosure provides protection against splashing water and hose-directed water. When selecting a weatherproof enclosure, it is essential to ensure that it is appropriately sized for the outlet and any associated wiring. The enclosure should also be made of a durable, corrosion-resistant material such as stainless steel or fiberglass reinforced plastic. Moreover, the wiring method used to connect the outlet to the electrical system must be suitable for wet locations. NEC Article 300.9 requires that raceways and enclosures installed in wet locations be arranged to prevent water from accumulating or entering the enclosure. This can be achieved by using watertight fittings and sealing compounds. Types of wiring approved for wet locations include Type UF cable, which is a direct burial cable specifically designed for underground or wet environments, and rigid metal conduit, or RNC, with threaded fittings. When installing wiring in wet locations, it is crucial to avoid creating any low points or traps where water can accumulate. The wiring should be properly supported and secured to prevent it from sagging or becoming damaged. It is also important to ensure that all connections are made in a watertight manner using appropriate connectors and sealing compounds. To further clarify the requirements for outlets in wet locations, let's consider some specific examples. Imagine an outdoor kitchen area with a sink and countertop. Outlets installed in this area would be subject to the requirements of NEC Article 210.8 ATHI, which mandates GFCI protection for all 125-volt, 15 amp and 20 amp receptacles installed within 6 feet of a sink. In addition, the outlets would need to be installed in weatherproof enclosures as described in NEC Article 406.9 bone. Now, consider a boat dock with electrical outlets for powering boats. In this case, NEC Article 555.3 would apply, requiring that all receptacles be GFCI protected and installed in enclosures listed for use in wet locations. The wiring method would also need to be suitable for the corrosive marine environment. Another example is an agricultural building with outlets for powering equipment used for washing animals or cleaning stalls. As mentioned earlier, NEC Article 547.9 would likely apply, requiring the use of corrosion-resistant materials and specific wiring methods. In conclusion, determining whether the use of a hidged weatherproof cover with an attended outlet constitutes a violation requires a thorough understanding of the specific electrical codes and standards that apply to the installation. Factors such as the location of the outlet, the type of equipment being used, the level of supervision, and the integrity of the weatherproof seal must all be considered. It is always recommended to consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector to ensure that any electrical installation complies with all applicable codes and regulations.